Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Toda Rabba, Dr. Litsky. We continue now with Hine Matov, how good it is and how wonderful it is to be able to join together as brothers and sisters. Page 10, page 128. Hine Matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Dodi Li can be found on page 11 of your prayer books, page 129 in the thicker volume. Dodi Li, taken from Song of Songs. Traditionally, we read from Song of Songs as we celebrate Passover, as we celebrate the springtime, a time of love and affection. Dodi Li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Mi zot olach min hamidbar, mi zot olach mikuteret mor, mor ulevona, mor ulevona. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Li baftini achoti kala, li baftini kala. Li baftini achoti kala, li baftini kala. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Uri tzafon uvo iteman. Uri tzafon uvo iteman. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, page 344, page 648 in your prayer books, in the digital version and in the physical version. Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. We continue on page 14. Or Zarua, light is sown for the righteous. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. U'yishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. U'yishrei lev simcha. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. U'yishrei lev simcha. Or Zarua, lat tzadik, u'yishrei lev simcha. U'yishrei lev simcha. Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor. Sing to God with violin, with instruments. Sing to God with voice. Page 16, page 134. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, b'chinor v'kol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, b'chinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zameru, l'Adonai. Zameru, zameru, l'Adonai. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, b'chinor v'kol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, b'chinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zameru, l'Adonai. Zameru, zameru, l'Adonai. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, b'chinor v'kol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, b'chinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zameru, l'Adonai. Zameru, zameru, l'Adonai. So we have a few more moments, and I thought perhaps that we could add Adonai Oz Lamo Yitain. You can find it on page 19, page 137. May God give strength to each of us, to all of us, as we enter Shabbat, as we enter Passover, as we enter hopefully a time of light, a time of strength, a time of health. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai os le'amo yiten. Adonai yivarech et amo. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. It is so wonderful to be able to welcome Shabbat, to be able to welcome one another. And so I invite you in this moment as we are gathering in our homes, wherever we are, wherever we have come from. Maybe it's just from the kitchen into the living room. It might be from work at an office or outside running errands, or perhaps just taking a walk. We enter into Shabbat to celebrate with one another, to look forward to our celebration, our observance of Passover. We also gather to offer strength to one another. Many are struggling with illness in this moment. There are many who have suffered loss in these last days. There are many who are remembering loved ones who passed at this season in years past. And so we gather together in celebration and in support. So I invite you to take these next moments to go to gallery view and to look at the tiles in front of you and to count 2 tiles to the right and 2 tiles down, and to offer a greeting, Shabbat Shalom, and to, if you don't know the person that you are greeting, to introduce yourself to them in these next few moments. We continue on this Shabbat Hagadol, this great Shabbat, the Shabbat that comes right before our celebration of Passover, a time, one of actually 2 times, when a great sermon would be delivered to the community, a sermon that focused on the rules, the mitzvot of Pesach, the laws of Passover, to ensure that everyone was celebrating Passover according to halakha, according to Jewish law. The second time when a great sermon was delivered is in, let's do this as a little bit of a quiz. In the chat, can you name the second time, or actually in our calendar it falls before Passover, the first time that a sermon is offered, one of the 2 times when a sermon was delivered back in the day. Dun 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 da 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 dun 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 da da dun 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 da dun 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 dum boom boom. Perfect. And you are right. The answer is Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat that immediately falls after Rosh Hashanah, right before Yom Kippur, and again going through all of the rules of repentance this time to make sure that everyone knew exactly what the responsibility was as the Day of Atonement approached. So as we are welcoming Shabbat on this Shabbat Hagadol, we do so with the lighting of the Sabbath candles and the Kiddush, the blessing over the Sabbath wine, and we invite Ann and Jerry Litsky to lead us in these brachot, in these blessings.
I think that I am muted. I think I can speak for everyone on the screens that when we come together and we are seeing each other's faces, it brings such calm and peace and a sense of family that we're all together. We look forward to these Friday nights. And as I light the candles, I hope that the light and the warmth of these candles brings contentment and peace and joy and good health into everyone's home.
Amen.
Amen. I feel that if I stand up, I may disappear, so I'm going to remain seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hakafen l'chaim.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you both so much. We continue our welcome of Shabbat with Lecha Dodi, the Sabbath hymn, page 20, page 138 in your prayer books. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem yisucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Bohui v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tohola, toch emuneh am segula. Bohui chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. In honor of this Shabbat Hagadol, the readings that we have chosen for tonight come from Mishkan HaSeder, the new Central Conference of American Rabbis Haggadah for Pesach. More and more, I have come to admire resilience. Not this simple resistance of a pillow whose foam returns over and over to the same shape, but the sinuous tenacity of a tree, finding the light newly blocked on one side, it turns in another. A blind intelligence, true, but out of such persistence arose turtles, rivers, mitochondria, figs, all this resinous, untractable earth. Page 22, page 140, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, a psalm of the Sabbath. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Hagi baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha balelot alei asor ve'alei navel alei higayon bechinot. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai b'foalecha, b'maaseh yadecha aranein. Gadlu ma'asecha Adonai me'od amku machshevotecha. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. No matter the pull toward brink, no matter the florid, deep sleep awaits, there is a time for everything. Look, just this morning, a vulture nodded his red, grizzled head at me, and I looked at him, admiring the sickle of his beak. Then the wind kicked up, and after arranging that good suit of feathers, he up and took off. Just like that. And to boot, there are on this planet alone something like 2 million naturally occurring sweet things, some with names so generous as to kick the steel from my knees. Agave, persimmon, stickball, the purple okra I bought for $2 at the market. Think of that. The long night, the skeleton in the mirror, the man behind me on the bus taking notes. Yeah. But look, my niece is running through a field calling my name. My neighbor sings like an angel, and at the end of my block is a basketball court I remember. My color's green. I'm spring. Page 28, page 146. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? la 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 la, ya 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 la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yada la la la, 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 yada la la la. Evening shadows recline on the earth. How refreshing their coolness feels after the sunlight's brilliant warmth. How good the calm stillness of everything, of evening. After the productivity and bustle of the day, how good the peaceful sunset after the day's dazzling shine. The night sky clouds itself with shining stars that appear like God's peace messengers, gazing down on us in silence and tranquility, as if to draw our gaze upward toward the heavens. Earnest solemnity fills our souls. A deep, holy feeling flows through us and lifts our hearts to you, O unseeable, inconceivable one, both in night's deepest darkness and in the sun's glare. Page 373, 677. Open up our eyes. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham B'shivtecha u'beitecha u'belechtecha b'derech u'shokbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot hayadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chatavtam hamezuzot beitecha u'visharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. The thing is, to love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat more fit for gills than lungs. When grief weighs you like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. You think, how can a body withstand this? And then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes, and you say, yes, I will take you, I will love you again. Micha Mocha, page 40, page 158. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, norah tehilot hosef eleh. Norah tehilot hosef eleh. Malechutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam. Ze Elianu ve'ameru, ze Elianu ve'ameru. Adonai Elok le'olam va'ed. Adonai Elok le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Questions from my tribe in midlife. Was it a cloud or a pillar of fire that led you lost people through the desert? And were you lost or merely uncertain, as I feel nearly every day now? And when you say wandered, do you mean your time was unstructured and so felt endless? Your looking brought no pleasure? And when you looked, could you see through the cloud, or was it like driving through fog on the Cape? And the moisture beating up on your forearm, was that God? And the fire with its bright noise, did it frighten or delight? And how long would this go on anyway, this not being here nor there?
We continue in our service with a meditation before the center prayers of our Shabbat. A thought has blown the marketplace away. Page 45, page 163. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of night, and eternity utters a day. And eternity utters a Yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai yai yai dai yai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai yai yai dai dai. Adonai, Svatai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagita Hila Techa. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך הקדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. On page 60, page 178, we have the words of Shalom Rav, asking God to give us this feeling of shalom, a feeling of peace, of wholeness, of contentment, a feeling that we know is maybe always just beyond our fingertips, but indeed is always something that we strive for ourselves, for our friends, for our family, for the entire world, to be at one, at shalom, and at peace. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We take these next few moments for the prayers not found written in our prayer books, but the prayers that we each find written in our hearts in this moment of silent reflection. Yehiyu leratzon imre fi imre. There we go. Yehiyu leratzon imre fi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu leratzon imre fi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Pulled it together.
Just the way it's supposed to go.
Just the way it's supposed to go. Just the way Josh and or Nichols, Dan Nichols imagined it.
There we
right?
go.
Exactly. Exactly. We take this moment now to draw from the strength of one another, to draw from the strength of this worship, to bring that strength to our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers for those who are struggling with illness of body or illness of spirit. Maybe even be we ourselves who are in need of such healing. And I invite you, to those who are participating in our worship tonight on Zoom, to share the names of the people that they're thinking about right now in this moment in the chat. For those who are following worship on Facebook, we invite you to share in the comments there the names of the people that you are thinking about, that you are praying for in this very moment. As a congregation, we are calling into our prayers tonight Jesse Abrahams, Eileen Kramer, Mickey Lambert, Francis Lerner, Ron Snyder, Ellen Sternweiler, Lauren Swanson, Miriam Bat-Sidney Valilian, Diane Swank, and Patricia Weinfuss. You may find the words to Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, on page 253, page 371 in our prayer books. sheberach avotenu mikor habracha lehimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
As much as we gain strength from each other, we have the opportunity not too often to celebrate the strength that we get from our rabbi. And though he was deservedly spending a little time enjoying his birthday last week and hopefully enjoying some sunshine and some good food and some relaxation as well, we still get to celebrate your birthday, Rabbi Cohen. And I always make sure to ask, am I allowed to say the number? Great. Because this on the week after your 60th birthday, we get to bless you for it. And I know how much you love Hebrew. And I know how much I love numbers. So I figured that between these two loves, exactly, a great blessing can come out of it. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the factorials of your birthday number, you can split it up into multiple different kinds of factorials, but you would get on one side a 6 and one side a 10. You multiply them together, you get how old you are. But also, both of these numbers have a great value in. So not only is 6 a vav in Hebrew, we know this letter as a prefix to pretty much everything. And if anyone else knows anything about Hebrew, you know that this one letter, this factorial of your birthday, stands for the word and. And I've never known you to say anything but yes and to really everything that is proposed to you. Yes, let's try this, and let's try it this way. Yes, let's invite this person into our community, and let's invite this person. Yes, and is one of your favorite phrases and one of your favorite ways of being. You are very much always an and person, and you give that spirit of always trying to find new ways and new paths of inclusion and dedication in our community. And all you needed was just that one letter, one little word, always with an and. And your other factorial, 10, is maybe one of the most unassuming but important letters of all. The Yud, the tiniest little letter of them all, stands for 10, but is also one of the ways that we write in God in many different ways. And not only are you always trying to find ways of inclusion and ways of dedication in our community, but you're always making sure that we're doing that even with a little piece of God. Usually it's a big piece of God, but even the littlest piece of God makes that path so much more meaningful and so much more important, and is really the thing that brings all the factorials together. So Rabbi Cohen, you always give us blessings with your ands, with bringing God to everything, but you bring us blessing in so many different ways, and so we get to give this blessing back to you. And the truth is, there are so many things that could come with this wonderful number, but I think the one that you give so often to other people is the priestly benediction. And I don't know how many times you've sat there counting the letters, but turns out there's 60 letters in the priestly benediction. And it's amazing. But to be able to not just be have our blessing through your presence, but for all of us on this screen, 59 different screens, another 7 people on Facebook, and probably more than one face in each of those, it that is just a taste of the blessing that we want to give back to you. Because through you, so many have made sure that God will bless and keep all of us together, that God smiles upon all of us together, that God's radiation, that God's light radiates. That's surprisingly hard to say, comes through you and shines on this wonderful community that you've been a part of for not an insignificant amount of those 60 years. So we are so grateful to be able to celebrate you in any and every way. And we are so grateful to be able to give this blessing back to you. This is not an insignificant moment, and with all of our significant moments, we love to give one specific blessing at it for it. This shehechianu, that we have arrived, but really that you have arrived. To be able to continue saying yes and to continue making every moment filled with God. Thank you for reaching this moment and continuing with the next moment and the next moment and the next moment with us together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi Heaps. That was beautiful, beautiful. And I'm not afraid to admit that I have totally forgotten what a factorial was until you brought it back in. So I appreciate that gift as well, the gift of your blessing and your words and always your teaching. Thank you.
I'm always here to remind you of your high school math class.
And I try not to twitch every time that happens. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I am far away from the computer, and so I see the chats coming through and then they disappear very quickly in tiny little letters, but I can make out the happy birthday, and I'm so appreciative for all of you and for all of your good wishes. And as Danny signaled, just in the midst of that blessing, we hit 60 screens. How perfect is that? So thank you, thank you, thank you. On this Shabbat Hagadol, it's not, I'm not blind to the irony of talking about a Seder, talking about order in a time that still seems so very, very chaotic. Where is the order in this time? Where is the Seder in the midst of this chaos? And as I was thinking about this and thinking about tonight, I was drawn to, of course, the story of creation, where God literally creates order out of chaos. In 6 orderly periods of time, God brings light into the world. God brings all manner of creatures into the world. God creates a beautiful world for all of us to enjoy. I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to sit down with a student who was in the process of studying to become a bar mitzvah. And he wasn't sure that bar mitzvah was the right path for him. After all, he really didn't understand the meaning of it. He wasn't even sure that he believed in God. And I sat with him, we talked for a while, and I said, tell me a little bit more about this God that you don't believe in. And he told me that he didn't believe in a God who lives in the clouds. I said, well, that's great, because neither do I. He said, I don't believe in a God that is watching and zapping blessings and curses along the way to each and every person, that God is literally watching over our every movement and deciding blessing and curse. And I said, that's great. I don't believe in that kind of a God either. And so we had an opportunity to talk about the story of creation. And I said to him, I don't think that the Torah, that God really meant for us to take the story of creation literally. That there's so many lessons that we can derive from this creation story that are powerful lessons that impart values, impart an ethic, how we should live our lives today. Not that we should think about exactly how this world came into being, although that's certainly an area to explore, but more importantly, to explore our role in the work of creation. After all, we continue to talk about ourselves as partners with God in the ongoing work of creation, that we recognize that we have a responsibility not only to till and to tend, not only to take care of the creation, but to continue the creation. And so as I was thinking about this young man and thinking about our time together and looking at the story of creation, I was thinking to myself, this is precisely the message for Shabbat Hagadol. That we are to create Seder, not to look for Seder, not to look for the order in the world, but to help to create it, to facilitate order coming out of chaos, that each and every one of us have the opportunity to do that in each and every moment. So in looking to Passover and our celebration of a Seder, we should really be thinking about the role that we have to play in bringing Seder, not only through the Passover Haggadah, not only through telling the story of the Exodus, the trailing from slavery to freedom, the story of redemption, that we should also be focused on what we need to do right now, right here, to bring Seder, to bring order into our world, and thus to bring blessing and to bring us just a little bit closer to redemption. So I would like for you to engage in a little bit of an exercise with me tonight, whether you're following our worship on Zoom or on Facebook. I invite you to think about the closing words of the Passover Seder. The closing words, Lishana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem. And again, words that we don't necessarily take literally, that all of us hope and pray that next year we will celebrate Passover in the city of Jerusalem, in the state of Israel. Although many might have that opportunity and many might long for that opportunity. But for most of us, Lishana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, is metaphor. So the exercise I'd like you to engage in with me in this moment is to think about this metaphor. Lishana haba'ah, this next year, what can you do to bring Seder into our world? What can you do? What part of the work would you like to engage in? Or perhaps you're already engaged in this work right now at this moment, working towards the next year when we can think back and remember that we were involved, we participated, we took responsibility for bringing order out of the chaos that we experience in this moment. So I invite you, if you are so inclined, to share in the chat what you can do, what you want to do, or even what you are currently doing to bring Seder, to bring order into our world, to bring blessing into our world, to fulfill the promise, Lishana Haba'ah, next year B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, next year in a better world, a world that has less chaos, a little bit more Seder. So take a moment now to share in the chat or simply to think about it, what it is that you can do, what it is that you are doing to bring Seder into our world. It might even be very difficult in this moment, and I invite you to continue to think. I want to share with you a midrash on the Passover Haggadah, where the Seder seems to be out of Seder. Rabban Gamliel, just before we participate in the Shulchan Orech, in the meal, the festive meal of Pesach, We read about Rabban Gamliel, who said that we have not fulfilled the obligation, the mitzvah of Pesach, if we don't reflect on the meaning of the Pesach, of the Paschal Lamb, of the matzah, and of the maror. And the Ger Rabbi says, wait a minute, this seems to be out of order. Why does matzah precede maror? Matzah is the bread of freedom, right? It represents the redemption, our escape from Egypt. And the maror represents the bitterness of slavery. What is going on? And the Rebbe Ger, the Ger Rebbe, who is like all good Rebbes, good rabbis, love to ask the question and then love to answer their own question. So he brought the answer forth in a mashal, a parable of a king who had a child and used to lavish gifts upon this child day after day, week after week, month after month. And the child just simply wasn't capable in that time to offer gratitude, to express gratitude to his father, the king. And so the king at one point grows very angry, very upset as the child becomes more and more spoiled and sends the child out of the palace. And the child wanders and wanders and becomes poorer and poorer and more destitute. And the king, after a while, regrets his action and calls for his son. He sends a messenger out to find his son. The messenger finds the young man wandering, and his clothes are torn. He doesn't have any shoes on his feet, and the messenger, the minister, asks what he needs, and he said, "Oh, I would be so happy if I had a fleece to keep me warm and boots for my feet." And the minister was so distraught that the son had fallen away so much that he didn't even recognize that he was a prince, that he had so much wealth at his fingertips that he could have asked for anything and everything, and it would be given to him. And so it is with us that in these moments of freedom, and perhaps we might even think about the moments before the pandemic, when how much of our lives we took for granted, how many blessings we enjoyed that we took for granted, how few expressions of gratitude that we were able to share. And through the pandemic, through the maror, the bitterness of this moment, how far we've come when many of us talk about, I just want to be together again. I just want to have that opportunity to be together, to fill the sanctuary once again. And how small that request is when we can ask for so much more, when we can expect so much more, when we can do so much more. So I ask you again, what will you do to fulfill the promise, L'Shana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim? What will you do to bring Seder into our world?
Hopefully one of those ways that we bring Seder, another way of phrasing that is by bringing and working on tikkun olam, on repairing our world. And that indeed is one of our many responsibilities as Jews, as people, as citizens of the world. Aleinu l'shabeach, it is upon us to do that work together. Page 282, page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei gdula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kechohamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu litakein olam b'malchut Shaddai. Together we can heal the world. Litakein olam b'malchut Shaddai. We must all work together, 'cause we are all the children of Adonai. V'nemar v'chaya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo u'shemo echad.
We take this moment now to call into our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers friends and family members, members of our community who have passed on from this earth. I invite you in the Zoom chat or in the Facebook comments to share the names of the people that you are especially thinking of in this moment. As a community, we remember the recent passings of Norma Brown, John Chiakulis, Alan Hirschfield, Ruth Polakov, Stacy Robinson, and Marion Rukin. We remember all those who have passed due to the COVID-19 virus. And we remember the passing just this week of Marilyn Bunny Kennedy, mother of Nancy and Jim, and Sue and Jim, grandmother of David, Missy, Joey, Ashley, Ricky, Allison, Jamie, Mike, Jeff, Brian, great-grandmother of George, Elsie, Andrew, June, and Jack, and Lois Salerno, mother of Michael and Rose, Richard and Susan, William, Tricia and Phil, grandmother of Marcy and Jim, Nicholas, Michael and Andrea, Anthony, Ryan, Christopher, Randy, Philip Jr., Ashley, Jacob, Sarah, and Gilbert, great-grandmother of Alyssa and Kellen, sister-in-law of Dolores and Patricia. We think also of the countless civilians killed this week, caught in the crossfire of violence, terror, and war. And the following is Yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death occurred this past week. Don Bowens, Fanny Burrs, Celia Brown, Julius Cohen, Molly Daniels, Dodie Dwyer, Sydney First, Ruth Fine, Joan Fraden, Stephen Gershowitz, Max Goldberg, Nathan Goldberg, Hannah Goldstein, Sarah Gurovich, Marvin Gordon, Marcia Hart, Isidore Honig, Evelyn Kaplan, Miriam Katz, Robert Katz, Bernice Lesser, Ben Lieberman, Alfred Meese, Morris Mitzen, Margaret Razor, Marie Rohrbach, Jim Rosenholtz, Jacob Rothschild, Theodore Ted Rubin, Barbara Barb Rutenberg, Bernard Seff, Jacob Shukin, Ruth Siegel, Seymour Simon, Audrey Beck Stewart, Lois Turim, John Van Thornout, Bernard Weingart, Marshall Yasuna, Rose Yasuna, and Harold Yatvin. Zichronam livracha, may the memory of the righteous always be for a blessing. Together as one family, we turn to page 294, 598 for Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amin. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevrach leolam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei d'kudsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru amin. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amin. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amin. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and bring comfort to all who are bereaved among us. And together we say, Amen. It is my pleasure to invite Mark Sulkin, a member of our board of directors, to offer greetings and announcements. Shabbat Shalom, Mark.
There you go. Oh, I see. Shabbat Shalom. Happy birthday, Rabbi.
Thank you.
You don't look a day over 59.
Thank you.
Anyway, there's a lot of things in our newsletter. It's kind of amazing. We have 13 online opportunities over the next couple of weeks. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I urge you to read our newsletter. Some things I wanted to emphasize, April 5th, 9:30 to 10:30, we're going to have a session on Shalom Bayit, peace in the home, regarding conversations about politics. I think we could all use that. It's going to be with Rachel Heaps and Rabbi Fenster of BJBE. Another one of my favorites is Tour on Your Tush. I don't know if anyone's participated before. I'm part of the Israel Action Committee. I really like these. It's going to be a live tour Monday, April 5th from 12 to 1. For details, look on the newsletter, but these are hidden gems that you've not perhaps seen before if you visited Israel. It's Passover, so Sunday, March 28th, we're going to have Passover worship from 10 to 11. And on the same day, March 28th, Sunday, between 4 and 5, we're going to have a Seder. And if you want to share some Passover photos, please do so on Facebook. Last thing I wanted to talk about was Whittier students in Waukegan are going back to full-time in-person learning on April 5th. And in the newsletter, you can click on a link if you'd like to donate some school supplies. It's very easy. You click on it, you order it on Amazon, deliver it directly to Temple Jeremiah, and you can do a good deed for needy students. So thank you, everyone. Stay healthy. Hag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Thank you, Mark. Bruchim hayinu b'voenu, bruchim niyeh b'tzeitenu. Blessed are we as we gather together. Blessed may be from this time always. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Passover, and stick around for an Oneg breakout room.